Welcome, Amalga-Maniacs. I am Taryn Barber and this is Amalga Review. In this episode, I'll be reviewing the movie Alita: Battle Angel. Now this review is going to be in two parts. The first part is for people who have not seen the film yet. There will be no spoilers in the first part. I won't be discussing any details that you can't see just from watching the trailer. And the second part is where I'll get into the good, the bad, and the ugly of the film and include some spoilers for people who have already watched the movie. Alita: Battle Angel was released on February 14th, 2019. It is directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by James Cameron. It's based on the graphic novel Gundam by Yukito Kishiro. Alita is played by Rosa Salazar. Dr. Dyson Ito is played by Christoph Waltz. Hugo is played by Kian Johnson, and Vector is played by Mahershala Ali. Now the story for the movie is based on a graphic novel by Yukito Kishiro called Gundam or Battle Angel Alita. It follows the story of a cybernetics doctor who finds a partial cyborg in a trash heap. Now this is 300 years after the fall, so it is post-apocalyptic. He finds a head and partial torso for this cyborg and is able to build a body for it, or rather attach a body that he already has built to the head. Alita wakes up and has no idea who she is. There are no memories whatsoever. The rest of the movie consists of Alita trying to find out who she is, as well as a patriarchal relationship between Dr. Ito and Alita, in which he begins to see her as a daughter and she sees him as a father figure. There's also a slight love interest involved between Alita and Hugo, who is one of the guys who finds parts periodically for the doctor. So for this pre-spoiler section, the good, the bad, and the ugly of this movie. The good, you can see from the trailers, it is visually stunning, which is no surprise. Alita looks hyper realistic. Her skin is far too perfect to be that of a normal person, but it still looks like skin. There are various cyborgs in the film and they all look distinct. So these aren't factory made cyborgs where they all have the same makeup. Some people have robotic arms or legs or torsos, or everything is a robot except for their head, and they're all rendered differently, so they all look different and it's not always initially clear who is a cyborg and who is not. Also, in terms of the good, Alita has some fantastic battle scenes, as the title implies. She is agile and quick and amazing. She's an amazing fighter. She is a warrior without giving too much away. So just watching her move around the screen and watching her dodge things in slow motion and just seeing her fight was exciting and thrilling in itself. The bad, without any spoilers, I would say the love story that develops between Alita and Hugo is a bit clunky at times. Also, Alita, there's a disconnect between who she actually is and who she is acting like she is, if that makes any kind of sense whatsoever. So she has the disposition of a 13-year-old. She acts like a teenager. She is impetuous. She's curious, of course, but for such an advanced piece of machinery, it seemed odd that she would wake up and initially just behave like she's a teenage girl. The ugly of the film, some of the character arcs are not believable, and I'll just leave it at that. When you're done watching the movie after you've seen it, come back here, look at the second half of this review, and let me know if you agree with me or disagree, which is fine too, when I talk about the different characters and how I thought that again, their arcs were not believable. That is it for the spoiler-free portion of this review. Would I go see it? Yeah, I would. It's not, to me, at least it's not a must-see movie. Like, I would have been fine waiting it for it to come out on Netflix or Redbox. If you go see it in a theater, I would do so because of the CGI and because the graphics are so absolutely amazing. But in terms of the story, it's not, to me at least, a good enough story to make it a must-see movie. In terms of stars, I would give Alita 3.5 out of 5 stars. because it looks amazing. This is one of the movies you could watch without the sound and it would still be an amazing movie. The problems don't come from the way it looks and the graphics so much as the story itself. So out of that 3.5, I would say 2 of those are for the graphics, and then the other 1.5 is for the story. How they could increase the stars, in my opinion, is with building a better story. And of course, with a film like this, there is room for a prequel and a sequel, etc. And it seems like that might be what they're aiming for. So maybe once the whole package is out, once the whole series of movies, if there is going to be a series, there might not be, but once the whole series of movies is out, then the overall rating for the body of work might be higher. But just for this single film, yeah, about 3.5 out of 5 stars. Now from this portion on, I will be discussing spoilers, so if you have not seen the film and don't want spoilers, you can stop the video here. If you have seen it and you would like to know my thoughts and engage in conversation with me about them, keep watching. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, including spoilers. The good is the same. Alita is adorable. She is amazingly rendered. She looks fantastic. The movie is gorgeous to watch. I also loved Dr. Dyson Ito. He is by far my absolute favorite character. Even though I thought the relationship that he had with Alita was a little bit creepy initially, how he immediately developed this patriarchal relationship with her and tells her things like don't go outside or stay in these particular parts of the neighborhood. It was just bizarre, almost like this instant ownership. But then when we find out that the body he has attached to Alita is his daughter's body, then it becomes a little bit more understanding of why he's so protective of Alita, although I'm not sure if initially that protection is just of the cybernetic body that he built for his daughter, or protecting Alita as a whole person. The bad of this film, I didn't like Hugo. I did not like Hugo at all. I thought he was a creep. I thought he was disingenuous. I didn't think that he actually felt anything for Alita. It seems like even in the end, right before he dies, maybe right before he dies, his feelings for Alita are believable. But up until that point, his entire reason for existence seemed to be to get to Zalem. And what was odd to me, that's another bad thing. Zalem, there's never any explanation of what it is. We can assume that it's the rich who live there. The rich live up there and the poor live down below. Even though in Iron City they don't really seem destitute. I mean, it just seems middle class. And looking at Iron City, I couldn't figure out what was so absolutely horrible about living there that people would risk everything to get up to Zalem. So anyway, Hugo, didn't like him all that much as a character. He seemed really self-interested, didn't believe that he actually had any feelings for Alita up until the very end when he starts to walk back towards her. I guess he does get some credit for not taking her heart when she takes it out of her chest and tries to offer it to him. But overall, I just thought he was a pretty flat, uninteresting character. And it also seems strange that, well, maybe not. She is, I guess, a teenage girl, which is another bad thing for me about the film. We know that Alita is over 300 years old. So why she would wake up and immediately act like a teenager, I don't know. Like, even without having any memories whatsoever of who she was and what she used to do, the fact that she wakes up and immediately starts acting like a teenager is bizarre. Because was she a teenager when she died? I don't know. Answer that question for me. Maybe that's why she wakes up and acts like that. But even still, I mean, with the training that she had, there should have been a level of maturity to her when she did awaken, and it just wasn't there. The ugly Sharon. Oh my gosh. Dr. Ito's ex-wife. Her character arc is extremely unbelievable. The fact that she changes at the end after Vector tells her that he had promised to send Hugo to Zalem in return for bringing Alita to them, and it seemed like that was the switch. And at first, I thought that she was upset that he was going to send Hugo and not her. But then it seemed that she was upset, or she realized in that moment that Vector had been lying to her all this time about sending her up to Zalem. But I mean, the fact that right after that, all of a sudden now she wants to help Alita. She didn't express any type of emotion or feeling towards anything throughout the film. Even when she first sees Alita and recognizes her daughter's body, and she pulls up Alita's arm, it seems to be more just an interest as opposed to emotion, like this body was supposed to be my daughter's. And then at the end, when she has that final conversation with Vector and she said that she remembered that she's a mother, I wasn't buying it. I mean, I guess she did save Alita and Hugo for her own personal reasons, but it just seemed an unbelievable switch. It was just, I did just rapid and completely out of nowhere. And there didn't seem to be anything that precipitated her suddenly having feelings other than that conversation with Vector. So those are my thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly for Alita in terms of its spoilers. And now to address some other issues. Why didn't anybody save that dog? As fast as Alita is, I'm sure she could have swooped in and saved the dog. The really big cyborg, I don't think I can pronounce his name, but the big guy had an arm in his eye. He had an arm in his eye, like a forearm in his eye. That was awesome, especially when he was in the lab and he's having his fit in the lab and he won't let them take the arm out of his eye, and he's just standing in there with his chunk, with this with the stump of this arm. That I couldn't get over that. I don't think they really could have been all that poor if you could buy like those huge chocolate bars on the street. I'm just not seeing the poverty. I mean, yeah, it's post-apocalyptic and it's horrible that, you know, if this is the only population left, that all these people have died. Yes, that's terrible. But to look at Zalem as, you know, it's almost like they viewed it as heaven. Like, this is the place we want to get to, regardless of anything. But I didn't see what was so horrible about living in Iron City. There didn't seem to be enough bounty hunters. You know, for a city that size, or a city of the size that it was portrayed to be. Maybe they all weren't in the hangout, but there just didn't seem to be a whole lot of them. And then what do they do with people who didn't commit a capital crime? Or is everything punishable by death? I mean, what if they just stole something? Do bounty hunters kill them too? Or do they just take them in? And do they have prisons? There wasn't like a clear justice system beyond bounty hunters killing you and getting the bounty. I'm not sure what to think about Motorball. I mean, it's, I don't know, a strange kind of, it's like a demolition derby on roller skates, I guess. It was really exciting to watch, but just, I don't know. And then it wasn't clear. Vector said the only way you got to Zalem was in that box where you put Sheeran, which was extremely creepy, seeing her brain and her eyes and all that. But the champion goes to Zalem. Does that mean the champion goes up in a box too? I don't know. What do you think? That is it for my review of Alita Battle Angel. If you've seen it, let me know in the comments below. If you have answers to any of the questions I asked during the spoiler portion of the review, let me know. Let me know what you think the good, the bad, and the ugly are for this film. If you have read the graphic novel series, I would love to know that as well. I know that it has 9 volumes, and I think the movie is based just on the first 2 volumes, which leaves plenty of room for subsequent movies in this series. So if you've read them and you think they're worth reading, I would love to know that. There's also a movie, a 1993 movie, 1993 animated movie called Battle Angel Alita that I have not seen, but I did find on YouTube, actually. I think the whole thing is on YouTube when I was doing research for this review. If you've seen that movie, I'd love to know. I'm thinking about watching it, but don't know if I want to, honestly. So if you've seen it and you think I should watch it, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you have ideas about other movies or books or things in general that you want to see us review, please let us know in the comments below. You are amazing. Thank you for being a part of the Amalga-Mania family, and take care.